I'm Heidi Heron. Welcome to Module 1, Introducing NLP and Communication. This section is understanding what NLP is, and this is the exact first place where we need to start so that everybody's on the same page, so that we know what NLP stands for, is, and the concepts of it, of the unconscious mind, and some of the language aspects, so that as we move forward into this module, we have all of the understanding that's right for us. So let's take a look at what NLP is, a little bit about the history, how the mind works, and also some NLP presuppositions to get us going. So let's take a look. Neuro-linguistic programming. I know you already know what NLP stands for, but here's what I say it is, as far as my definition of NLP. Neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro, how the mind works, but how the brain is. Not just the brain and the gray matter, but everything to do with our neurology. Every cell, every atom, every fiber of us deals with our neurology. And as soon as we're talking about NLP, we're talking about the neurological connections, the neural highways and networks of our unconscious mind. This is the neurology that runs us, that gets our thinking going, that gets our body going, that gets us sweating when we're hot and goosebumps when we're cold. So we're not just looking at the brain, but we're looking at every cell, every fiber, every atom of us. And that's huge. Now, this links in with our linguistic aspects. So the linguistic of NLP, the L, is the words we're saying, how we're communicating, how our tempo, our physiology, which is our body, all of the characteristics of what we're saying. But more importantly than the words that we're using is how we're saying it as well. So the linguistic aspect of NLP has to do with our five senses: what we see, what we say, what we taste, what we touch, what we smell, what we think, what we hear. All of those things go into the linguistic patterns. Now, again, we are looking at much more than just what the words are saying. We're looking at how a person says something too, which might be in a person's physiology, how they're holding themselves, or their facial expression. It might be in the tonality of our skin, or the tightness of our jaw. In fact, in a few modules, or a few sections within this module, we're going to be looking at calibration and sensory acuity skills, which will help us to understand and define and redefine the linguistic aspect of NLP a lot more. Now, let me tell you right now, we're not going to be looking at body language as in, if you have your arms closed, that means you're closed. Now, you may have read that on a book or the internet or just heard it somewhere, and you know what? It might mean that you're closed, but it might mean a variety of other things too. Just having somebody's arms crossed might mean that they're cold, or they're trying to keep themselves warm, or they have an upset tummy, or they're trying to hide their watch, or a tattoo, or a ring, or anything. So that could mean a lot of things. But we are looking for congruencies, so wholeness in a message, or incongruencies, which is a misalignment, with linguistics. For example, if somebody is shaking their head no, but their words are saying yes, that linguistically is telling us that there's something amiss. And then we can use some of our communication tools within NLP to actually identify what that is. And then, of course, we come to the programming. I utilize the word programming and patterns or patterning interchangeable. So the programs that we have are all of those unconscious programs about everything we do. How we communicate, how we fall in love, how we get motivated, how we procrastinate, how we make a decision, how we choose what clothes to wear, how we choose the partners in our lives. The programs of our beliefs, of our behaviors, of our thoughts, of our identity. We have a program for everything that we do. When we can understand the programming and how that programming is created, that actually gives us a great opportunity to do a few things. We can change programs that aren't working so well for us. We can enhance programs that are working really well for us. And we can create new programs if we don't have one. For example, if somebody is very much a perfectionist, they might not have a program that says just accept it, let it go. So we can actually create a program that says that. We might also need to change a program if it's not working, or there might be another area of that person's life where it's really easy to just let things go, and we can enhance a program or even map it across to a different area of life. So, in general, NLP is understanding how the language of the mind creates the patterns and programs that we run in life so that we can do better with those programs, so that we can understand more. And as we'll hear about presuppositions in a little while, the more you know, the better you can do. So NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, to me it's one of these tools that everybody should learn because there's just so much knowledge within this field of NLP. And we can utilize NLP for a variety of different reasons. If it's to communicate better or to change those programs or patterns or just understand somebody more effectively. Huge aspect of NLP because every single one of us has different programs. Each one of us has different neurology. Each one of us have different linguistic patterns. And so therefore, we're all different. And the more that we can help ourselves to understand other people and understand ourselves, that allows the communication aspect to flow much better, allows a much broader understanding of other people, and ultimately the world becomes a much better place to live. NLP itself is fairly new still. It was only developed in the early 70s. These two gentlemen, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, actually started NLP. Richard Bandler is the one on the left side of your screen, and John Grinder is on the right-hand side of your screen. The story of how it actually started kind of goes like this. It was an accident. That's how it starts. They didn't mean to develop NLP. In fact, they were at the University of California in Santa Cruz in about 1972, 73, 74. And John Grinder was an assistant professor of linguistics at the university, and Richard Bandler was a student. And they knew a few people in common, but one of the people that NLP was modeled on was a lady named Virginia Satir, and she was a family therapist. She was also a lecturer at the university, and she taught family therapy. One of Richard Bandler's part-time jobs was to sit in the back of the classroom and audio record the lessons. He wasn't a student of psychology, he wasn't learning this stuff, but he sat in the back of the room, and he's a very bright man. And he picked up information fantastically well. Virginia Satir, fantastic family therapist, but she didn't know specifically what she did, and it was harder for her to teach some of these concepts. So as the story goes, into the middle or end of the semester, Virginia Satir gave a case study to her students in the class and said, hey, what would you do as a family therapist? Now some of the students had okay answers, but none of them were spot on. None of them were really giving her the answer that she wanted. So from up the back of the classroom, Richard Bandler raises his hand, and he goes, hey, I can do it. She goes, well, who are you? You're just the guy that records my lessons. He said, I know, but I've been sitting here all semester, and I know what you would do. And she said, okay, show me. And so he came up to the front of the room, and he addressed this fictitious family using the same words that she would have used, the same tonality she would have used, the same body posture she would have used, asked the same question she would have used, and he got it spot on. Now, Virginia Satir was a little flabbergasted, a little taken aback, and she's like, well, you're not even a student of psychology. How did you do that? And he said, because that's what you do. Without even knowing what he was doing, Richard Bandler was a natural-born modeler. He could pick apart what somebody was doing. Well, I don't know if he could pick it apart, but he could do what they were doing. They called in John Grinder, who could pick it apart. From a linguistic standpoint, verbal and nonverbal, they started looking at Virginia Satir and the work that she was doing with her clients in family therapy, starting to figure out what was it that she was doing that she didn't know she was doing. One of those things that she was doing was asking phenomenal questions and respecting a person's model of the world. And she had just a way about her that built rapport with her clients in such a way that gave them permission to be themselves, accept themselves, and make changes when they wanted to. So as the linguistic aspect kicked in, John Grinder and Richard Bandler started thinking, well, who else could we study? And they were introduced to a variety of different people. And through Gregory Bateson, who is a sociologist, they were introduced to Milton Erickson. And they were also introduced along the lines to the work of Gestalt therapy. So NLP focuses on the modeling of excellence, and primarily 3 different therapists who were phenomenal in their time, which was early 70s and even earlier than that. And this was Fritz Perls, who was the founder of Gestalt therapy, and NLP uses a huge amount of Gestalt therapy. A Gestalt, for lack of better terms right at the moment, is kind of like a grouping or a culmination of something. So ultimately we're looking at patterns and how to work with patterns of behavior, emotion, and thought within Gestalt therapy. Virginia Satir, who is the family therapist, and Dr. Milton Erickson, who is a hypnotherapist and medical doctor.